With so many healthy and delicious recipes out there, there's really no excuse for our diets to be uninspiring and bland. So here are 5 recipes that you may have missed that were shared in social media, and also some top health news that has got the internet a-buzzing. This is the Fit Man Cook Healthy Eating Roundup for January and February 2015. First up is a 5-minute oatmeal powerball by oshiglows.com. I love this recipe because it's simple, decadent, and calorie-packed with a whole bunch of healthy fats to give you energy to burn throughout the day. Now, if you're tired of the same old oatmeal with just some berries and banana, then I highly recommend that you try out this recipe. The main takeaway here is variety. Variety, people, it's really important to keep your diet interesting. She used banana, chia seeds, cinnamon, almond milk, and ground flax just to make the base of the oatmeal. Then she garnished the entire thing with a whole bunch of nuts and spices like soaked almonds, pepitas, hemp hearts, some toasted coconut, nut butter, and spices. I mean, basically, she just pulled out every single thing that she could find in her pantry and put it into this oatmeal. Again, the key takeaway here is variety, and adding just a little bit of different food items can really enhance the flavor of any dish. Oh, and if you would like to substitute in quinoa for the oatmeal, I think that's a great substitution. And I've heard from many of you all that you're having a little bit of trouble cooking some quinoa. It's not coming out quite as fluffy as you would like. Well, my good buddy on YouTube here, Bobby over at Flav City, put out an awesome tutorial recently on how to cook fluffy quinoa. So I recommend that you all check out that video so you can get that quinoa problem fixed. Next up is an awesome stuffed eggplant recipe by the Guy Gourmet over at Men's Health. So we know that last month was Valentine's and everybody was scrambling trying to find something romantic to cook for their boo thing. Well, menshealth.com put out this recipe for date night, and I loved it because it was easy and very practical. But beyond that, I thought it had great implications for meal prep. I thought it was a really simple and easy yet delicious dish. All you gotta do is slice an eggplant, pre-bake it, stuff it, top it with some reduced fat cheese, and then bake it again, and boom, you have a flavor explosion in your mouth because you've got the warm tomato sauce, then you've got the Parmesan cheese and the crunchiness of the panko crumbs. Everything just kind of comes together. And what I like about this too is that it's really easy to customize, so even if you wanted to add in some lean protein like a chicken or a turkey, or even some wild game like a bison, it would be a great addition to make this a full, complete, muscle-building meal. So it's great for family dinner, but also great for meal prep. Check out the Guy Gourmet over at menshealth.com for this recipe and several others. Next up is a Feta Red Pepper and Avocado Frittata by Hungry, Healthy, Happy. And let me tell you, looking at this recipe just makes me hungry, healthy, and happy. Now, we all know that starting your day off well is really important because it helps to set the tone for the rest of your day, but sometimes we just don't have a lot of time to make breakfast, which is why I really love frittatas because they can basically make themselves in the oven as you get ready for the day. It's a very simple yet hearty frittata packed with healthy fats. And I love the fact that she touched on using your leftover veggies in the frittata. If you're like me, by the end of the week you got a whole bunch of leftover veggies and you don't want to throw them out, and you don't necessarily want to put them all into a smoothie because you're not quite sure how that's going to taste. Well, always remember that you can toss everything into a frittata, and that's what she did here. She kept the recipe for the base frittata pretty simple. She used eggs, some skim milk, feta, avocado, onions, and chives. Just toss everything into a skillet and then bake it, and while that's baking in the oven, you can continue to get ready for your day. So if you eat this, you may not be hungry anymore, but you will be healthy and happy. So check out hungryhealthyhappy.com for this recipe and several others. Next up is a Chipotle black bean and avocado quesadilla. I tell you what, if I had a mic, I'd drop it right now for this recipe and pick it up and drop it again. I'll tell you, I am a sucker for a quesadilla, and that's just my own bias growing up here in Texas. Quesadillas are awesome, and they're even better when they can feed our muscles. This is a vegetarian quesadilla that is packed with protein and complex carbs. She loaded this up with black beans, some chipotle and savory spices, and then of course it cannot be Tex-Mex without some lime, cilantro, avocado, and of course to top it off, some sharp cheddar. She threw everything into a whole wheat tortilla, then toasted it with some light olive oil on all sides, And it's no wonder this recipe has the internet abuzz because it just looks amazing and it's a great practical idea. Now, black beans are a great complex carb, but they're also high in protein. So technically, you don't need to add in an animal source protein in order to make this dish hearty. It's fine just as is. However, I understand if you want to add in some meat, you can definitely do that, and I recommend you adding either some lean chicken or some lean flank steak. Check out this recipe and several others from naturallyella.com. And lastly, we've got some turkey taco lettuce wraps by eatingwell.com. So at first I was a little bit confused as to why this recipe was trending right now, but then it kind of dawned on me that spring and summer are right around the corner and everyone is trying to get beach body ready. And so the first thing that they try to cut out are carbs. Let me first say that carbs aren't bad, and in my opinion, they should not be completely neglected from your diet. However, I do understand the rationale in trying to reduce the amount of carbs that you are taking in as you get ready for the beach. And why? Well, carbs tend to add a little bit of water, and it's hard to see all of your hard-earned, chiseled muscle with a layer of water over them. So, if you're looking for lower carb alternatives to foods that you really love, like tacos, then try recipes like these lettuce wraps. These lettuce wraps are a great idea. Very simple and delicious. Simply swap out your corn or your wheat tortilla and replace that with crispy, fresh lettuce. Then add in your favorite toppings and, of course, your lean source of protein. With this recipe, you can stuff your face and get lean and mean at the same time. So check out eatingwell.com for this recipe and idea, as well as several others. Now it's time for my favorite item or grocery find that's got me really excited this month. And this month it is fresh paper. So if you're like me, I buy a ton of fresh produce on a weekly basis. And sometimes I don't get around to using it until later on in the week. And by the time I use it, it's not fresh, it may be wilted, or it's got a funky taste. And so I got tired of my produce not staying fresh in the fridge. So I heard about this stuff called fresh paper and decided to try it out. So these are maple scented sheets that you put in with your produce. You can put these into the drawer with your produce, you can put these into the bags, into cartons, just wherever your produce is, put these sheets with them. And it helps to preserve the freshness of the veggies much longer. And I have to say, after using it for about a month, it actually works. And I love the fact too that these smell like maple. It's got a really strong maple scent that's gonna have your fridge and your produce smelling great. So check them out. It's called Fresh Paper and their website is fenugreek.com. If you're like me and your produce is going bad in the fridge, then I highly recommend you checking out Fresh Paper and seeing if it'll work for you, just like it worked for me. So, your favorite Fit Men Cook recipe of the past 2 months is the Tex-Mex enchilada casserole. Let me tell you, I am right there with you. I've received so many emails and texts and tweets and messages about this recipe. I'm so glad that you all are enjoying it. And if you have not gotten around to making it, I highly recommend that you do. It's great for your meal prep. I use it as my post-workout meal. It's great for family dinners. I tell you what, this recipe cannot lose. And if you haven't made it yet, then hop on the Fit Men Cook bandwagon with the rest of us and make this recipe. You can check it out here on YouTube or also get the full recipe from fitmencook.com. Finally, here's some news in the health and wellness community that's got the internet a-buzzing. So last month, there was an article published in the Lancet Diabetes and Endocrinology Journal by a whole bunch of obesity experts. And what they claimed was this. They said that obesity is a chronic disease that is caused by biological factors. And as such, a healthy diet and exercise alone aren't enough to cure obesity. So the title of the article was, Healthy Diet, Exercise Can't Cure Obesity, Experts Say. So of course, you know the internet was just a-blazing and a-buzzing about that headline. And what's interesting also is that this article comes off the heels of what happened in Europe. The European Court of Justice ruled that obesity can now be classified as a disability. Now this comes after a Danish man sued his employer because he was terminated for not being able to perform some of his job functions due to his obesity. So the fact that this debate around obesity and how to classify it and how to cure it and how to deal with obesity is actually a pretty relevant topic right now in social media. The experts in this article state that while a healthy diet and exercise are important and they may help out in the short term, they guesstimate that around 80 to 95% of individuals with chronic obesity will gain that weight all back. And why? Because a reduced intake of calories can activate a biological fat loss defense that encourages our bodies to stay at a higher body weight. So back in the primitive days when food was scarce and we'd go through long periods of times without eating, this defense mechanism was how we survived. Our bodies would just activate and hold on to all the fat we had. However, now we tend to have higher body weights and we've got access to food. This defense mechanism that our bodies are triggering just basically lead to higher calorie consumption and to fat storage, which results in a higher body weight. So what the experts in the article are saying is that even through healthy eating and exercise, that individuals with chronic obesity may not be able to escape the effects of the fat loss defense mechanism. So telling our friends and our family who may struggle with obesity just to eat healthy and exercise, that may not be enough. There could be other biological factors that should be considered. Things like surgery and appetite-related hormones and other things and other variables. So it's not just black and white about healthy eating and exercise. What do you think on this topic? Do you think it's as black and white as just eating healthy and exercising and staying really committed to your goals to overcoming obesity? Or do you think that there are other legitimate biological factors that should be considered when treating obesity? Me personally, I do think there are other biological factors that should be considered. And I think that whenever you're looking at a treatment prevention plan, I think one of the challenges that you would run into though would be identifying individuals with chronic obesity versus the ones who tend to make chronic, poor, unhealthy choices. I think that could be kind of challenging. But I want to hear from you. What do you think on this topic? How does this influence your viewpoint of the people that you know in your own life that may struggle with obesity? Check out the article and share your comments and your thoughts below. And remember to be respectful of your fellow community members who may have a different point of view than yours. Remember, weight loss can be a very sensitive topic for many, so keep that in mind as you craft your comments. And that concludes the Healthy Eating Roundup for January and February 2015. Now, in case I missed your recipe and you've got an awesome YouTube channel or food blog or social media platform and you're sharing out those awesome recipes, I want you to send those to me to be considered for the Healthy Eating Roundup. Email me at recipes@fitmencook.com. Now, as always, I want to thank y'all for watching. Keep it healthy, but never boring.